Hello, my beautiful bookish friends, and welcome back to my channel. So obviously right now, we're not in front of the bookcase like normal. However, we are doing a book wrap-up. Reading wrap-up, Jesus. The main reason we're in here is because I forgot my tripod at my parents' house and don't feel like going to get it, nor do I feel like pulling all the books I read off of my shelves, because I read so much in July, which normally doesn't happen. I usually read the most in January and February, which is still true. Like, I read the most in January and February. But this month, I just really committed to the bit, I guess. And Athena's in my lap. If you guys didn't watch my Meet My New Puppy video, you should do that. The air conditioner just kicked on. I'm sorry. The fan's on. Everything's going wrong at the moment, but hopefully it won't be too much of a burden, and this will just be a vlog style wrap up. So let's just get into it, shall we? Because I got 16 books to talk about. Who do I think I am? I think part of it is because I did a 24-hour reading vlog, and I did reading books until I find one I love vlog, and I'll link both of those if you guys want to check them out. I like doing these conceptual vlogs a lot more than just, you know, a weekly vlog that features some reading. This is a reading vlog that features some real life, you know? So, that being said, let's talk about what I read. So, first and foremost, my first book of the month, I think I started in June and ended up finishing in July, was Butcher and Blackbird. For people who don't like this book, I genuinely want to know why. Is it because of the gore and the thrillery suspense parts? Like, you don't like that mixed with your romance? If that's true, I get it. But if that's not the reason, I want to know your reasoning. I need you to tell me, because I want to tell you that you're wrong. This book may be one of the best books I read this year. It may have just been right place, right time for me reading it, you know, right headspace. I'm obsessed with this book. It was so good. Sloane and Rowan as characters were amazing. I love that they are both serial killers, but they're more like vigilante serial killers who just take it a little too far in how they end their targets, we'll call it. You know, no one that they killed was innocent by any means, and they were really bad people, so I was cool with that. I will say the ice cream part, it made me a little queasy, but it hasn't turned me off ice cream, okay? But overall, I think I gave it a 5-star. This is the nice part about filming in here. I could actually look at my call pile. It was a 4.5. So, pretty freaking close. But I'm already reading Leather and Lark and really enjoying that so far. It was just wicked and funny. If you have a dark sense of humor, this book is for you. This one I read was a nonfiction called The Kitchen Witch that my friend actually gave to me for Christmas this year. It's just a nice little beginner's guide to, like, kitchen witchery, different things you can do in your home that are really easy, that you can make very ceremonial or very mundane, just if you're someone like me who practices witchcraft and you want to do it daily, or when you do it, you don't want to put, like, you know, it doesn't have to be cauldrons and very specific ingredients. It can be things that you have around your house. So it was a cool little guide for that, and also had some really good cleaning tips. Next, I reread The Fine Print. Again, I will hear no dissenting opinions about this book. Maybe it's because I'm a Disney person. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just a good book, and people dislike it because it's obviously based off Disney. I think people dislike it because of that, and if you go in thinking like, oh, it's super Disney, whatever, like, it's more so the behind the scenes part of Disney, not the stuff in front and, like, the business stuff. It's a billionaire romance, so you're gonna have business meetings, you're gonna have, you know, some, like, very technical talks and stuff like that. But other than that, it's just a good time. Like, it's smutty, but not too smutty. It's fun. It's enemies to lovers. and like kind of a convenience thing, like convenience relationship, but there's like mistaken identity. It's good. You just need to give it a shot, give it a chance, and you know, just let your reading be fun. It's a fun time. The next book was not a fun time, and I actually DNF'd it about 58% of the way through, and that was Weyward. I don't understand how this was a finalist for Book of the Year. I don't. It was, the 3 timelines was very cool, seeing how each of these women had some sort of connection to like a witchy backstory, or being accused of being a witch, you know, way back in the day. That storyline, we could have just went with that storyline and I would have been sold on this book. The one that took place like during World War, I want to say 1, I did not like as much. It was very traumatic. It was a very triggering read. And the present day one felt very much like the darker parts of It Ends With Us. But basically in each storyline, spoiler if you are reading it or whatever, was like, oh, I'm having a baby, so that fixes everything. That is my least favorite trope ever. So I did not enjoy it. It also had no trigger warnings, and it needs about 15, because there's a lot of essay in this book, there's a lot of DV in this book, and there's just a lot that goes on that's not talked about, that it goes from like, oh, this is a cute little witchy read, to like, holy, what is happening? And Book of the Month does this a lot, where they put the triggers on the app, like when you go to order your book, but they're not in the book themselves. So if somehow you miss those trigger warnings, you're going in blind here. Also, I'm sick of Book of the Month, I've talked about this before, pitching something as a witchy, like, yay, feminism read, and then you actually go in and read it, and it's just super traumatic story. I'm sick of those reads. I would like us to stop pitching these books as fun little things. This is the same issue I had with the unfortunate side effects of Heartbreak and Magic. Same general feelings there. So, DNF'd it, so it gets no stars. Now let's talk about the book that saved me from a reading slump that I read in one day, and is also one of my top 10 favorite books of the year. Done and Dusted. Wow, was this book good. I literally put as my notes, absolutely amazing, give me 14 of them, and there's 2 more books for me to read in this series. I freaking loved this book. I did not expect to love it. I have not read any like Western cowboy romances ever, so this was my first one, and I think I did good. I read it in a day. I gave it 5 stars. I loved so much about this book. It's one of those ones, again, that was just right place, right time in terms of me reading it. Like my mindset and everything was just in the mood for something light and fun, and you know, there's family, and there's like, you know, that you can always go home, like when everything falls apart kind of idea. I really liked it. I liked the relationship. I liked that there's no 3rd act breakup. I, as a person who predominantly reads romance, is so sick of the 3rd act breakup. It's ridiculous. Reading the rest of the series, and I saw Twisters right after I finished this book. Couldn't have paired it better, let me tell ya. So I will be, I think that's why I liked Twisters too, as there was no 3rd act breakup in Twisters. I'm just realizing that. Not that it's like a rom-com or a romance movie, but like obviously their relationship is a big part of it, but there's no 3rd act breakup. That's why I liked it. Then I read a Geronimo Stilton. I never rate these, but it's the 41st one in the series. I read Fangirl Down, and I cannot stress enough, y'all are a bunch of haters, because this was a fun book, okay? It's not the most logical. It's not the most, I don't know, literally beneficial. I don't know. Like, it's not a classic, you know? Like, it's not gonna be a literary classic people study. Maybe it will be. I don't know. But it's just fun. I think everyone is getting hung up on the there's no such thing as a bad boy golfer, like, blah, 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 blah thing. First of all, as someone who has worked in sports and has been around athletes their entire life, this type of person exists in every single sport. There is always someone who will crash and burn because of their own faults. Let's just start there. I liked the caddying idea, the little, like, fangirl falling in love with her, like, the subject of her affections and them actually meeting and getting together and being a thing. It's fun! If you liked reading fan fiction, it's for you, you know? Like, it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But it is fun, and the setting is different, and it gives you just, like, there are some very heartwarming moments in there, especially when she's trying to save her family's pro shop, and, like, all these different things. It's a good old time. Tessa Bailey, you can do no wrong for me. After that, I did listen to Tunnel of Bones. That is Victoria Schwab's, like, middle grade series, like, paranormal middle grade series. It was fine. It was cute. I don't need to read it again. The first one takes place in Edinburgh, Scotland. This one took place in the catacombs of Paris. It was a little darker and a little spookier than the first one, not gonna lie. But just a very fun, quick little time. I think the audiobook's literally like 5 hours long. It is really quick to breeze through. Next we get into the books that I read for my Reading Until I Find a Book I Love vlog. So the next 3 books I have already unhauled. The first one was Instructions for Dancing. This book has confirmed to me that YA romance that is depressing at some point, I've outgrown it, you know? This one, also I thought there would be more of like the dancing competition in this book, and there wasn't. It was more about the main boy's band, and him like following his dreams, which was fine. There was nothing wrong with that. But I wanted more of them like dancing together and getting to know each other and learning to dance and like all these different things. So that was fine. But it was like a less depressing version of The Fault in Our Stars with this weird kind of like mystical aspect added to it. I think that magical realism part of it too kind of ruined it for me, because it needed to be more prominent than it was, and it would kind of like be there and then not be there for like 50 pages, so you would kind of forget about it, and then it would pop back up, because this is a very short book. It's only like 285 pages, and as soon as it would pop back up, you were kind of like, oh wait, I forgot that was a thing. So that kind of messed with it for me. I got rid of that book, but it's cute. If you're someone who loves YA romance, you'll like that one. Next one, Serious Moonlight. Again, another YA romance, but it was supposed to be a YA romance mystery. The mystery I didn't end up caring about as much as I thought I would. And also, there was so much going on in this book. It was like trying to cram all, like, 8 years of the teenage experience? Well, probably like closer to 5 years. Cramming all of that into one book. It was like drugs and sex and a mystery and death and grief and complicated parental relationships and a fun aunt who's kind of like, I don't know if she's a medium or not. I feel like maybe I just thought she was. And coming of age and all of these things, and a boy with a, you know, from the wrong side of tracks with like a speckled past. It was too much. And that made it a whole lot of nothing. You know, like not any single storyline really was pulling you along and grabbing you. Like, I was listening to this on audio and I started to fall asleep at points, and when I woke up, I didn't feel like I had missed anything. If that makes sense. Like, I didn't feel confused. I didn't feel I needed to go back. Like, it just was not me. So I think me and Jen Bennett are just not gonna coexist, because a lot of her books are YA romance, and that's fine. It's great for that age group. It's just not for me as an almost 27-year-old. The next one, which I didn't realize was YA, if it was, I wouldn't have picked it up for this vlog, but it was 5 Total Strangers. Initially, I loved the idea that it was these 5 people getting in a rental car, traveling through a Pennsylvania winter, which, hello, know how that is, and getting stuck and having all these things, like everything going wrong and everybody also being a little sketch. I enjoyed that. Where it got, for me, was like, it became too predictable and stopped relying on the weather being the thrilling part and having to throw them into these somewhat unrealistic situations, with people who, like, no one in, I mean, maybe not no one, but like, growing up in this area, I know that if you're in rural Pennsylvania, it's Christmas and you're trying to get home, like, and you go into a bar that's open, no one in there isn't gonna help you. Like, people in these areas are very community driven, so when they were kind of turned away, that kind of, like, was like, okay. And then it got, like, way too predictable, and there is a girl who is made out to be an addict, and she is. They kind of use a lot of stereotypes to not only describe her, but, like, propel her actions throughout the book, and I didn't love that. So I unhauled this one as well already, because I'm not going to reread it. Then I read the 42nd Geronimo Stilton, and then I read the 6th volume in the Wonder Woman New 52 series. Again, I could rate these for you, but trying to explain why would be really hard if you haven't read the other ones. But I liked it. There were 2 good twists. It's good progression. I enjoyed it. Then I listened to Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, which is I read it and I listened to it. It is a continuation of basically what happened after Jack and Sally got married in Nightmare Before Christmas. Sally becomes queen and has to take over all these things, but she starts traveling to another world. She finds Dream World, or Dreamland, which has been forgotten about by the people of Halloween Town, and she accidentally lets out the Sandman, and he starts wreaking havoc on all the holidays because he starts putting them all to sleep. So it just talks about her not feeling good enough as queen, and her fighting this new villain who is very Oogie Boogie-esque, I will say, and how she does that. Now, Sally was a little bit whiny, and that was annoying, because I don't like a whiny character. However, overall, it was pretty good, and as a Nightmare Before Christmas stan, I liked it. I enjoyed it. Next, we have Wildfire by Hannah Grace. If I would have read this book first, I would never pick up Icebreaker. But I read Icebreaker first, and I liked it. So I picked up this one. And I didn't like it as much. It's at camp, which is like, that's so fun, Camp. Woo, who doesn't love that? The more I read, the more I wanted to punch Aurora in the throat. She is a character who I get has some issues, but she also self-victimizes every other chapter. And she is that friend who is always in crisis mode for very few reasons. Like, they're the friend that's calling you and texts you all the time being like, oh my god, you won't believe what happened, this happened, oh my god, my life is in peril. And you realize like 95% of their issues are self-inflicted. That's how I felt with her. I just wanted to strangle her. Like, I really enjoyed parts of the romance aspect, but the rest of it, I just couldn't get my brain to like. And it's really sad because like I said, I really enjoyed reading Icebreaker. I thought it was cute, but Wildfire just didn't hit the same, and now I'm worried that Daydream is not going to be as good, even though it's Henry. Everyone's like obsessed with Henry. I think he's an okay character, so we'll see if I even like that as, a potential couple that I care about. If not, like, I have my hold already placed for the day it comes out on Libby. Once I listen to it or read it on ebook, I don't remember what I did, that will basically determine if I buy it. If I buy it, I'll keep the whole series. If not, they're all going on Pango. And speaking of Pango, my very last book of July ended up on Pango as well. This is the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I am not a sci-fi person, but to me, this fell more under like a paranormal historical thriller. However, it just didn't do anything for me. Like, the main character waking up in a different body every day, trying to figure out who is going to murder Evelyn or cause her death, was a cool concept, but it took forever to get there. I didn't even finish this book. I actually DNF'd it at like 60% because I was like, I don't even care how she dies or who dies or whatever anymore. I don't care. Just goodbye. Like, get away from me. Like, I did not care about how this book ended at all. And when I get to that point, it's really time to DNF. So, yeah, that one's going on Pango as well, because I did not enjoy it at all. So, overall, July was kind of a rough reading month in terms of things I enjoyed and things I didn't, and how many books I got rid of. I mean, I got rid of, 5 books out of the 16 I read. So I only kept 11 out of the 16 books that I read. And yeah, some of them may end up getting unhauled eventually. So that kind of tells you where I'm at. But August is off to a really hot start with what I've read, and I've already unhauled something. I'm being cutthroat this year. I'm not hanging on to stuff that I'm like, well, maybe if I reread it, I'll like it. No, if I didn't like it the first time, probably not going to like it the second time. Let's just be real. I'm pretty steadfast in my opinions. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this little wrap-up and the little puppy snores. Because she was sleeping on my lap. And I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know down below what you're reading, and let me know if you think any of my opinions suck.